pandemic got us into a reflective space and made us look inward to see what we can do for the world at large. As a self-expression coach, I became a catalyst for women and started Vani, a one-on-one coaching program for women on finding their voice, to speak up, to be visible. As a storyteller, I spotted there were many ordinary people amongst us leading extraordinary lives, making a difference to the world, and they needed to be heard. Thus was born You and I with Rashmi Shetty, where amazing personal journeys with their uniqueness and individuality are showcased. A reaffirmation of the fact, open your eyes wider, the world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Our guests today are Deepa and Sridhar Ranganathan. Sridhar is a Silicon Valley returned technologist who is the founder and CEO of CloodOn Incorporated, a technology company to enhance the ability to teach and learn in the new world of online-based education. He is also the founder and CEO of the Shankar Mahadevan Academy that uses CloodOn or SeekLMS to teach Indian classical music and other forms of music worldwide. Deepa is an engineer turned author who's a director at the Academy and develops the music curriculum for children. Their purpose is best described by Sridhar, who says, "My quest is as simple as our ability to put food on people's table. Learning, teaching, performing, or just listening to music, or admiring their own painting, their written word, something that makes them happy without a care of anybody judging them. Just get them to believe they are worth it and let them live it." Hi Sridhar, hi Deepa. Wonderful meeting you here and welcome to You and I with Rashmi Shetty. It's been years since I know you all, but I still don't know you. And you're doing amazing work together, and that's why I thought if you could share your journey, it'll be a great motivator for people who want to take the path less taken to make a difference in society. The format usually is we move on into however and wherever you want to take us. So who would start? Sridhar, we go with you first.
Okay. Right. I grew up in the city of Bombay. I grew up in a Madrasi building. The next door neighbor building was a Marathi building. The other side was a Punjabi or a Sardar building. And this was located in an area called Jain Society, where the last lane happened to be military barracks that got converted to Sindhi colony in 1947 at the time of partition. So I grew up in this amalgamation of so many different types of people that I think I learned a lot from them rather than going to, and any education would have got me. I lost my dad when I was 9, and it was me and my sister and my mom struggling to make a living. I wanted to do engineering, and I joined this college called Ramrao Adik Institute of Technology, which is now called the D.Y. Patil University in Navi Mumbai. I was in the first batch. It was 1983, and it was so disorganized that I had to take 3 exams in 1 year, 3 semester exams in 1 year in 1984. Luckily, I could graduate with a first class in my bachelor's of engineering in computer science. And then I got an internship / first job at Mahindra & Mahindra, where I honed my programming skills. But then my desire was to go abroad. So I wrote my GRE and SAT like everybody did at that time. And I went to this university called Michigan Tech University, which is way up in the upper peninsula of Michigan. And I didn't even know what cold was. Growing up in a city like Mumbai, along the sea coast with warm weather, I went from a good 35 degree heat to a minus 15 degree centigrade in the upper peninsula of Michigan. For people in the US, they feel the upper peninsula of Michigan is remote. They don't even know the names of the town called Houghton, Hancock. And I struggled. The first 3 months was a struggle. Somebody had told me that there would be 6 feet of snow by November, and I didn't believe them. And there it was. So I said, okay, it's time to pack my bags. I got a transfer. I went to Villanova University to pursue the same subject, computer science, and I graduated within about a year and a half or so, and then proceeded to Silicon Valley, like everybody did, who had a computer science major. My first job was at Xerox Corporation, and I was this tiny little fish in this ocean of 110,000 employees of Xerox Corporation. A fantastic company to get trained in not just technical skills, but also overall employee skills, or they call it quality skills. It starts from personal quality to product quality to the company's image quality, and it was just an amazing 5 years. In that time, Deepa and I got married.
There's a question that I want to ask you here, Sridhar. You grew up in Mumbai, a typical cosmopolitan space with pan-Indian influences right there. And you moved to a country which is completely different into a subject in 1983, 84, which would have been very new at that point of time for those of us in India. And now looking back, do you think any of those influences helped you in handling yourself in a new country with a new crowd that you were with?
A ton of experiences and examples. The first thing is, the first day I went there and went to the cafeteria, a sandwich was $4. And at that time, a dollar was 12 rupees. And I immediately converted that and it says 48 rupees. A sandwich in Mumbai would be 2 rupees. And I couldn't digest it. I couldn't forget about buying it. I couldn't even eat it and digest it. So, and that was a first culture shock. And you grow up thinking that you know a language well, and I could speak decent English. And I go to Burger King, and I said a veggie Whopper and a Coca-Cola. And that girl looked at me and said, "Oh, for you to go." And I said, no, I want a veggie Whopper and a Coca-Cola. And she repeated, "For you to go." She said, no, see, look at that. Look at the board. I want a veggie Whopper. I said, "Sir, I understand that. Do you want to eat it here or take it out?" I said, "You should have said that the first time. What is for you to go?" And those such were the experiences when that one I remember. The other one was, I went for a walk, wearing a t-shirt. Within about 2 minutes, it was cold, very cold. I must have walked about 5 miles or more, and I saw one person on the road. And this is the first week I moved from Mumbai to Michigan, and that was an incredible culture shock, in the sense that in Mumbai you are surrounded by at least 1,000 people, if not more. And then there I could see one person after walking 5 miles. That's another interesting episode that I remember. The rest of it, trying to open a bank account, trying to rent an apartment, all of these were new things. And everything had a paper, a document that I had to sign. And I had no clue what I was signing. The first 2-3 weeks was very, very hard, in the sense that there's no food. You have to alien food. You don't have a kitchen to cook, so you are going to a grocery store. And I was in a place where there was no vegetables to be had easily, so I lived on fruits. There were a couple of apple trees in the orchard, and nobody minded you picking it. So I probably had more apples in those 2 weeks than in my life. And so, looking back, it's so funny. The other thing was, coming back to the language again, it would be incredibly hard to understand a professor is talking, and they will drawl. There were combination of accents, southern accents, northeastern accents, and whatnot. And it took me at least 2-3 weeks to just get the radar right in terms of understanding, trying to listen and learn slowly. Another episode is, so I went to a town where I went before the college started, which means it was a university town. So there were a total of 2,000 inhabitants, right? That's only 2,000 people living in there. During session in school, there were 8,000 students. So a total population of 10,000. Now think about public transport. You actually had to call for a bus, and the bus will come and pick you up and drop anywhere to anywhere for 50 cents. These are all experiences that I had where you're starting to grow from a boy to a man. in various aspects of just discovery, trying to understand the economics of how things work, trying to understand a completely new system. And of course, the first minute of calling back to India, it used to be called trunk calls, and these were routed down through cables from the underwater and across the oceans. It would take about an hour to get connected, and the first minute was $10. The second minute was $7. So it's a fortune to call. So we would call once a month. It would be a ritual, waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally you'll get the call through, and you go, "Hello, hello, hello." You shut the top of your voice, and the other person is probably barely hearing you. And a 3-minute call would cost a fortune, like I said, and that would be the only connection to home. There was no internet, and then I started started a practice of writing half a page a day, and I'll pile up about 5-6 pages and mail a letter every week.
Okay, so that is how your writing is so beautiful. Normally, techies are not very good at expressing themselves. Now I get it. Okay. So, from Sridhar, Deepa, we move to you. What was your childhood like, and where was it? In Mumbai as
I
well?
grew up in Bangalore. I was a
Oh,
middle
okay.
daughter among three of us,
Okay.
and we were, a typical middle class family. Dad working, mom taking care of us, and my school was right around the corner. So I remember it was great days. We didn't care about how much money we had, and it was all about coming from school, playing with friends outside your house, and it was like living in a community where every festival was celebrated together. So it was a very different time, and I have very lovely memories of my childhood. Even though money was not as great as we have today, but I think it was one of the most beautiful phase of my life, where it was just being with people, around people all the time, never alone. And then in '93, I got married and I went to the US along with Sridhar. So
Okay.
I did my college, my engineering in Dayanand Sagar, and it used to be like a lovely picnic spot, right on top of the hills. And
Hill.
I think we did more sitting out and enjoying nature than learning anything really, because those colleges were just starting. So, we hardly had any good lab equipment or any, teaching. It was just go there all the way, attend a few classes and come. So different times, but really wonderful. Yes.
And you too did computer science, is it?
I did electrical and electronics.
So yours and Sridhar's was meet, saw, love, okay?
Horoscopes are the first ones that you need to see if it
Experience.
works before you even get to see or speak to anybody those days. So I think it the horoscopes were matched, and my dad had used to travel around India. He was an internal auditor for Kisan, and so when he went to Bombay, he went and met Sridhar's family there, and he was very impressed with them. They were very down to earth. He called me and said, "I think this is almost done." I said, "I haven't even seen the boy, Dad." And then Sridhar came down and met, and I was very young, Rashmi. I was just 22 then. And yes, it was like, I would say yes, but then I was, is this the right thing for me? And I think I put Sridhar a little bit through the ringer those initial years, when I was not so sure about whether marriage is right for me or not. But he was very patient and it all worked out in the end. So.
Okay. So how many trunk calls Sridhar to Deepa and the hello hello was worth it?
No, Sridhar used to write to me before even we met each
Oh,
other. I used to get
okay.
letters from him and I used to write back. So, his habit of writing letters, he did that with me also. And after we had a very, we had to get married when he was visiting to see the girls, because he had to apply for green card those days. So we had a court marriage, but he had to go back, and our traditional wedding was 6 months later. So in those 6 months, I think he had called me several times. I think by then the trunk call system changed, or I don't know what, if it was still the same. But
Sridhar changed.
I think half the time I was complaining, and poor guy was wondering, "Oh my God, what did I get into?" Because as I said, I was very young, immature, and And I think it was very difficult phase for me because I was married actually on paper, but I didn't feel married at all because, it was like I went to Bombay, we had a court marriage, I came back to Bangalore. So it was a little difficult for him, I think, being far away and, me putting him through a lot of doubts that I had if it was right. But fortunately for me, he was extremely, extremely patient and understanding. And, I think put up with all of that even after a few months when I went back to US. And that's when I think for me, I really started looking at him and said, wow, this guy is so amazing. If you have seen Mauna Raga movie, have you seen that?
Oh,
Ours was a
yes.
little bit of story like that. And I think then, after I went there very quickly, I was madly in love with him. And from there, it was very different.
Deepa, did you also start working once you went there? How did the two of you carry on and start off your life together once you moved?
I always wanted to do my master's. And those days, my dad was like, if you want to do master's, you get married and do. I'm not sending you alone. Because a year later, I enrolled into my computer engineering master's program in San Jose State University, as that was right close by where we stayed. It was a good college, and I think I really learned my engineering subjects there. What I had done in India was not even scratching the surface. We self learned most of the things. So it was really a wonderful program for me to go there. And as I was doing my master's, I started interning in a national semiconductor company. And so I was working and going to college. And then after I finished, they kind of took me in. So I was working for the architecture team, and that was my thing into the tech world in the US. And it was wonderful. We had some lovely learning both at work and in the college. So that's when I felt I was a real engineer, I think, for the few years that I was there.
So, Sridhar, in your journey, what started shifting or what made you, because you are a big name in the tech world before you came back to India. So, from Xerox, what happened?
Yeah, so right after the wedding, um, we went back and then we got married in April. And starting September, I was back in school. So I decided to go and get an MBA from UC Berkeley. And I put a lot of hard work to get in there. So I was so elated. And this was a program that they allowed you to do evening college and take courses in the daytime if you need to. But I could still keep my job. So my most of the days, I'd come home and I'd just say two words: let's eat, let's sleep. It was just long days. So I would get up at 4, go to work, from leave at 4 from work or for 3:30 or something. I'd drive up about 2 hours to Berkeley, and then 3-hour classes. I'd leave there about 9 and come home at around 10:30, 11. So this kind of thing. And then the weekends were short because I had to do my work with my peers to do the assignments and such. And I was a big, I'm still a big fan of cricket. So I used to play cricket on weekends, which would be the respite from all the work that I was doing. So right after I finished my MBA, I got an offer from Ernst& Young, and they offered me less than what I was making. By then, I had moved to a company called Pure Software, and Pure Software was the first company that Reed Hastings started. Reed Hastings is the current founder and CEO of Netflix. So he was an inspiration for me when I saw him, and I was employee number 38 or 39 or something. And I saw the company grow. We went IPO. We acquired some 10 or 11 companies, and then eventually we ended up in IBM. Just before we ended up in IBM, all the 3 years was almost like an internship for my MBA. So I did not take the job at Ernst & Young, and the 3 mad people got together. These are my college friends from Ramravadik, Anurag Mendekar and Mohan Vishwanath. And one weird night, I still remember in 1996, he said, and I'm talking in Mumbai या हिंदी, यार कौन सा तो दिन में कोई तो email phone में check करेगा. That was the conversation. Somebody will use email on their phones, and that idea, it took us a year to understand what we are talking. And then the technology was so limiting at that time. The phones were so big and 2 lines. Now, how do you even check or do anything with that, right? Then the Palm Pilot came about, and at the same time there was a company called Web TV. They were trying to get the web on the TV. We had the design of a technology where we thought we could get content from the web onto several devices. These guys were driving somewhere, and one day I was just thinking, and then suddenly the name Online Anywhere came to me. We named the company Online Anywhere. 97, 98, 99, we had the technology done. It was working really well. And at that time, Yahoo was just going places. And they felt that they had to have us. They acquired us to launch the first ever web portal on a phone with Sprint PCS. And this happened in October 1999. So that got started me on the journey of entrepreneurial ventures and everything. But after the acquisition, I felt that I had to stay in Yahoo to pay the dues in terms of making it successful. So that's what I worked very hard on till about 2003. During that time, we had a lot of personal issues that Deepa will probably go into more details. And then I also lost Mohan, one of our founders, in 2001. We had a big trough in our life between 99 and 2003, which led us to come back to India.
Okay. Yeah, Deepa. So you continue the story.
Rashmi, as I was saying, I was working for National Semiconductor, and I think it took a while for me to do because I was doing part-time. So by then I was around 28, and we decided to probably, start having a family. And so I had lost my dad. Suddenly he was planning to come to the US, and he just had a brain fever and he passed away, and it was a big shock for me. And then when we came back in a couple of months, we found out that I was pregnant, and I was super, super thrilled. And finally, we were going to have a little baby. And so, but unfortunately, when I was, I think, 22 weeks, one night my water broke at home, and I was rushed to Stanford. And there we found out that they didn't know what had happened. They said that we'll try to keep you in the hospital for as long as you don't get infected, to make sure, we save the baby and you. And I think by 25 weeks, they had to kind of do a C-section for me to have the baby. And it was a baby girl. We had named her Riya Santoshi Sridhar, and she lived for 1 week before she passed away. And that started our really, really bad phase of our life, because, we didn't know at that time. We just thought, okay, it's a one-off thing. We are young, we can try again. But I took the next pregnancy for them to discover that I had some issues with my cervix. And so I had to lose a second pregnancy before they said, okay, now you can, we know what the problem is. And then we went ahead with the third one. And I lost the third one in spite of having the right kind of treatment and everything. So that's when we decided, because I had met in between my visits, I'd met a very competent and a good doctor, Dr. Geeta Arjun in Chennai. And she said, just come over here, we'll make sure you have a baby. And so we decided that, we'll give it a shot, and we'll move for a couple of years, have a baby, and then go back. But when we came here, fortunately, I went through the pregnancy fully, and I had sadhana, but we decided not to go back. And so we just stayed here.
So yeah, and I went to Yahoo, my boss, and told them I'm quitting. I'm going to India. And what he said is, what? Why don't you go talk to Bharat and Venkat? They are in India in Yahoo. I came back without even thinking. I quit there, but then I talked to them. They said, come to Bangalore. Went to Chennai I took almost like a 15-day break or something. I didn't do anything. But Chennai heat was something that I couldn't bear with. I said, okay, let me try Bangalore. So I came to Bangalore, and the office was again, 35, 40 people. And that whole entrepreneurial instinct just kicked in, saying, okay, I can build Yahoo India, Yahoo Bangalore. At that time, Venkat was the CEO, brought me in as a COO, and I was in a different phase. I was not doing technology as much as matchmaking technology teams and hiring people here to service the technology being built in the US. To complement that. So it was more like a HR, build in a company building role without any pressure of revenue. It was basically building the whole institution there. I put in a lot of processes around how to do interviews, what questions to ask, not just technical questions, more about the human being in them, I would just kick out people who would come late to interviews, and I would not even tolerate even a minute of tardiness. And I know I found the whole culture again. It was a big culture shock coming back to India. Anyway, those days in Yahoo India, I learned two things. One is we had to do something to the education system. The people are bright, smart. They take the flight over to the US. They just go places. In India, in even Yahoo, we used to find this, a terrible sense of professionalism. For example, at that time I didn't correlate it, but for example, say we had a project of 2 months, and the deadline is 2 months away. Every week we would have a call, and the US guys would present what they have done, and these guys would actually lie what they have done. Until about a week before the deadline, everybody's working nights. And I realized, why are these guys doing this? It's basically because how we studied for our exams. Remember, exam, you always wait till the last minute to just do something and get over the line, right? Exact same mentality, they would take it into a professional career. And all those things, made me think that I need to do something in education. And that's how CloodOn started in 2009. In between that, I quit Yahoo in 2006 because I felt that Yahoo as a company was disintegrating, and there were a lot of incorrect management decisions that have been very, very clearly articulated now. But that led me saying, okay, I didn't want to do that, and our baby girl was born, and I wanted to spend more time, and that's what happened. In 2006 to 2009, I worked with a company that I had started, but I never really worked in that company. I'd funded rather, not worked. And then I helped them build the technology team in India to support that thing, which was in sensor-based automation. Again, we found out that we were very early in that space. Sensor-based automation is something called fast track now. The old RFID system that you use on your cars to pay tolls. We had all that technology in 2006, 7, 8. And then the Wall Street crash in 2008 just killed that business because all our clients just went away overnight. And then I took a break. The first time I fulfilled my desire to learn swimming because growing up in Bombay, I had no chance. You have no swimming pools, and to learn. So that I did. And then in 2009 June is when I started CloodOn, which is the platform for online learning. Thinking again, I think the world will learn online someday. Is what my thought was, and that's how we started CloodOn.
Yeah, you've always been ahead of the curve. You've always somehow caught it before the world caught it, and that helped you through and through. And was music a very natural progression because of the presence of sadhana in your life at that point of time? How did you think of music and technology coming together?
So 2009 to 2010. So 2009 June is when I started the company. Until 2010 June, I must have visited about 50, 60, 70 schools all over India. The Delhi, here, there. The one school that came very close to understanding what I was saying was the British school in Delhi. That principal and the director there, I forget his name, but he was extremely supportive. Now they already were looking at doing something, but what happened was they did not want to go with a private solution. So they tried to get a couple of engineers, and they cooked up something that is already available in the internet to have a public solution or a freeware solution. And then that was the only one I came close to. The second school was in Mumbai. They came very close, but then they had this one guy in the technology division. The problem with selling technology to a technologist is very, very hard because they think they can build it.
Yeah.
And it was not true. But then we kind of lost that also. It was, anyway, we most likely would have lost it. And on that June 26th, 2010 afternoon, I was on a flight back from Mumbai to Bangalore. I picked up the midday paper, and then there was an article there saying, something about SEL, Shankar Loy. And there was this one line that said, Shankar Mahadevan says that he has applied for some land grants with the Maharashtra government to build a music academy. And I just read it and I didn't even think about it. And then the night, I think I must have ruminated over that thought or that particular line. The next morning, I was trying to find a number or an email ID for Shankar, because Shankar was my 1 year junior classmate, and I kind of knew him because I was the sports secretary in school, and the student government usually come together to to hold cultural events and such. And Shankar was a superstar there, and he would always end the show. So, but I didn't know if you would remember me. And now this is Shankar Mahadevan. This is like a celebrity. How do I even approach him? Luckily, there's one friend, Jai Shankar Balan, who lives in Michigan. He is very close to Shankar because he's the violinist. And he was very close to me because we used to fool around, and then we used to crack some terrible jokes, PJs and things like that in the bus and things. So I just called Jai Shankar and asked him, do you have this contact? He said, I cannot give you the phone number because Shankar has forbid me to give it. So I'll give you his email ID. The story goes, I send an email to him with my number to call me back, and I have one digit incorrect in it. I don't know why I made a typo, but I did. So Shankar has tried to call me. He never reads email. Okay, and he just happened to see this email and he was curious why I'm contacting him. He remembered me. And then he replies to the email saying there is a number incorrect in that. Then immediately I sent him to write my number. He called me and said, let's meet. And I told him about the idea about, you're going to create a music academy. That land grant and all come in 10, 12 years. Maybe it will not even come. But let's get started. I have all the land on Cyberland. And that's how I told them. I said, we met. And this is kind of funny. We met at the Taj Lands in Bandra, where I had written 3 lines and he had written 3 lines, and it's one of those speeches in Sangam. It is there. They are exactly the same. It was like something. The whole, if you think about it, the whole thing is serendipity. It's just complete accident to happen. I don't know. It just completely out of the blue. He said yes. After saying yes, the next week he was off to the US. So what do I do with the yes? I have no idea about music, and I didn't. That time I felt like, what did I do? What did I get into now? I don't know what to do now. And like anything Indian, it is good. It is not documented. Anything that needs documentation is not documented. It's word of the mouth. People say one thing. People say, that guy is wrong. This guy is right, because there's nothing to go to, right? There's no reference books. Then he put me in touch with Padma Shankar and Mala Swami for Carnatic. And then there's one more lady for Hindustani. And I started reading about it. And I started asking all the right questions. So I asked Shankar, why do people have to learn and struggle with Saregamapa? What's the point of learning it? If you can sing, no? He said, no. Every song can be decoded into notes. I said, why don't you tell that first? Then that's how the whole rhymes for us came up. How do you get a child to sing sargams for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? Small things like that. Then one of the things I asked Shankar is, when I was growing up, my sister used to learn music. But when people would come home and my mom would ask her, can you sing something? And then she'll sing some Janta Varase or something, which is boring. So I said, why can't we teach a song to begin with? Why do you have to stick to sargams? We can teach them sargams, but why can't we? So our curriculum was built around those things, right? How do you decode music? How do you make sure that the child can proudly perform any song, any simple song, to anybody who comes home, to family and friends, to grandparents, whoever it is? So that was the start of the Shankar Mahadevan Academy. We worked very hard between 2010 August to January 2011, where we did all the pilots and pre-pilots and such, and we announced the launch of the academy on March 3rd, 2011, which happens to be Shankar's birthday.
Wow. Okay, this is a beautiful story. But you know what I've been noticing, Sridhar, from the time you started speaking? Generally, men are told that they're very bad with dates. But you're so spot on with the dates, the month, the year. Now, where did that come to you? Because I've been noticing your entire story is so perfect and it's complete with the month and the year, which is something very rare, which I have noticed with men. Very few remember dates. How is it that dates are so important to you? Very, very good in history or something?
Well, I was good in history and I love history too. That's not the only thing. But I think part of the whole not forgetting the details, because those are the details that makes the story interesting. I think part of it came from the training at Xerox Corporation, where we used to have a daily diary, a daily thing, and all that. And then every meeting will start about dates, and that's something that I carried on with me for all my work. But I have to say, it worked everywhere except in Shankar Mahadevan Academy, where I came and encountered a completely different style of people, and I had to change my style of management. These are artists, and you give them a project plan with deliverables and dates, and no clue. No clue. They don't even understand the time. Most of the musicians are at least 10 minutes late. Unless there is a concert. If there's their concert, they'll be on time. Other than that, no chance. Dates, they don't even think about it. They may actually finish it early, but they won't even know that they have finished it early. So it has been both sides of the coin for the date. So.
No, but are you somebody who journals as well, like your life, everyday types?
No, I don't. I used to for a brief moment, brief years, somewhere, I don't remember now. But I do take notes when I'm in the meetings. So I have a date and notes, and then I have a lot of notes there. Sometimes I stop, I don't write, sometimes I actually type it out. So because it's easier to send it to people. But I do value the whole art of documentation and communication post meetings, because people tend to forget.
Yeah, yeah. But documentation with this precision is pretty rare, Sridhar. Must applaud you for that. Because documentation happens, but this precision with dates, I very rarely encounter. So wonderful. And Deepa, living with somebody like this who has it all documented all the time, and your life with sadhana, and then comes Shankar Mahadevan Academy, where did you find yourself in the midst of all of this?
My engineering career never took off, Rashmi, because I think I got into my pregnancy journey at that time. And so I had to focus all of my energy, both physically and emotionally. Very hard years for me, from 1999 to 2000. Even after sadhana, those kind of things don't go away. It stays with you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but when sadhana came along, I was very sure that I wanted to be a hands-on mom. Because of what I've gone through, or because my mom was always there for me, so I wasn't looking for anything to do at all. So I was very happy just being with her and spending all the time with her. And I think, but I used to, because Sridhar started this new company, we used to brainstorm a lot, talk about it a lot, and at home, and I would tell him whatever I thought about it. And then they were going to release the Hindi movie song package. So I just went to the office to take a look, and I found a lot of things that I didn't like. So I came to Sridhar and said, "You have to change." He said, "Stop complaining. You come to work and start fixing it." So that's how I started getting involved in Shankar Mahadevan Academy a little bit. I would do a couple of hours a day, because Sadhana, when she would sleep or something, I would go there. And when our daughter started school in Neve, her batchmate was the daughter of the owner of Neve. And so we knew her pretty well. And when she knew we had a music academy, she said, anyway, she also was starting the grade school for the first time at the time. She said, why don't you guys start to introduce music for the children here? And so we had our Hindustani curriculum go and meet, a curriculum coordinator meet with them, and they started doing classes there. And since me was familiar to me, Sridhar would say, why don't you go and take a look at how the program is doing? And one thing I found was the children were not enjoying the classical learning in a group. And, they were kind of bored with repeatedly singing the sargams and this and that. So that's when I started looking into how music is taught all around the world for children. And I found, as again Sridhar was saying, it was very well documented in the Western world. And again, they had a structure on how to teach music, So I spent a lot of time. And again, not being too well versed in music, wanted me to have everything explained to me in a very easy, simple way. So I would go and ask the teachers, what is a pitch? And they would always say swaras. But I said, swaras is different. What is a pitch? How do we explain pitch in a very easy way to a child? And that's when we came up with, when you're happy, you speak in one voice, when you're sad, because you already have a pitch. But when you're a musician and trained traditionally, I don't think you go to that level of thinking. You start off at a much higher level. And because we were not great musicians and we were just learning through this journey, I think we asked questions that made them go a little below the what you're supposed how you start teaching, and that's how this whole grow with music. And one day I was putting a PowerPoint to present to people, and I was looking at some visuals to do it, and so I was pulling some plans to see how to show the progression. And I said, hey, this word grow with music sounds really good because they can learn music all through their life. And that's how we started the whole grow with music program. Initially it was Seema and me. We would go to Neve and we would do concepts and songs, and we didn't have a great song back then. We used to do some Bollywood songs and all of that. And then we later realized that we need to make the songs also very appropriate, age appropriate. So it's been a fantastic journey, I think, for me. Those years were very creative, spending a lot of time with the teachers and trying to figure out how to build a curriculum that can make it build music awareness in children. In a class of 25, you cannot teach music like a traditional classical music. You need one-on-one for that. But what else can we do? Can we help them fall in love with music? Can we help them make music a part of their life where they use it for so many other life skills? Like if you look at it, performing arts is all about going on stage and singing and performing. And every individual, after whatever graduation or even during graduation, you need to present to your peers, your professors. And in India, people they know the knowledge, but presentation skills is so hard to come by. And with this, grow with music, kids are thrown into the stage from when they're toddler. They get the sense of, I can do this, and they grow with that. So there was a lot of life skills also we felt that comes along with this Grow with Music program, and we wanted to make it a part of every school curriculum, like English, math, and science. And that's how this journey started. And having my house and the office in the same street was a blessing. So I would divide my time between sadhana and go and meet with people to build the curriculum. So it was a amazing journey. When I look back at those days of creativity, creating songs, I had hardly any tune knowledge, but I would sit with Albin and we would try to figure out how to put a tune together for the songs. I would write songs because they would all be cheesy, like the sky is blue, grass green, or whatever. But we started with that, and then we progressed into where we are today. So.
Oh, I didn't know you're a lyricist as well. So you
So
write
I used
songs.
to write like that I Am Melody song that we have. So I thought, why don't we start teaching songs, concepts through songs? So I asked them, what is melody, right? They said the notes go up, notes. So I said, I am melody. I go up, I come down, and I put some swara. So, I used to do a lot of those kind of, then how to, for children to teach them colors and respect values, respect and caring and sharing. So we'd use Sadhna, her friends, to do the video shoot for little kids to show what is caring, what is sharing. We would come up with this concept. And because we thought that as a song, the children can learn it more, remember it more, keep singing, and also it's there as part of their life. So we did a lot of these experiments earlier on. So Padma and I, we had all these puppets. We used to change our voice to, sit behind the puppets and try to make them talk and teach children concepts, musical concepts through that. So interesting time, honestly. So much creativity. It's not the same thing you're going to be doing every day. It's like, what is there tomorrow? And then Tara and I, we used to brainstorm so much. Like we had this inventure project where they said that you have to teach them about recycling everything through songs. We have to present their learning. We said they wanted to present the whole learning through a musical. So we used to write songs in Kannada, Tamil, Bengali. So we would first write in English, then I would call Prasanna or somebody who knows Kannada and say, what word can we use for this? Somebody who knows Bengali. And we would spend days trying to do this. And we used to look forward for it so much. At the end of it, it would come out so well. And then when we saw the children perform, it was just, wow, did we create it sitting in the conference room? So it was amazing creative times, I feel. This whole Shankar Mahadevan journey for me has been one of discovering my own creativity, Rashmi. I was an engineer. I was made to be an engineer because those days you don't even know what your potential is, It's either medicine or engineering, and you just go with the flow. But when I started doing this, I realized, hey, I just love doing these things. This is actually my calling. and haven't even thought of it, because you just go with whatever is being given to you.
True.
So for me, it was discovering myself also through this whole Grow with Music program, about what I can do in the creative space, writing and songs and all of that. So it opened a whole new world for me personally also.
Today, you're also an author. So, lyricist, author. My God, this is beautiful. So, what was your book all about?
I've always been a diehard romantic. I used to, read every Milson Boone available, I think, while growing up. And I've always been like that. I love a good happy ending story wherever I watch it. Even if it's a movie, I pick movies that have happy endings. So, and there's been the story that's been running on my head. And I knew the beginning, I knew the gist, but I didn't know how. Always used to think how people finish a book. How do they know which situation to go from now to the next one, and so I just started writing, and you won't believe, it's just like the characters take a life of their own, and they take you through their situations, and you just go with it. So my book is about, it's like a romantic, a little bit of suspense, and so it's about two people, Anjali and Ashish, and their journey. And so I wrote the book, and I didn't want to get it out to the world. I was very worried about the reaction and everything, as always. And so, but then suddenly one day I just decided I'm going to do it, and I don't care how many people read it, but I want to, put my hard work out and do that. So I just went with a, self-publishing way, and I just went ahead and I did it, and I spread the word only to my family and friends. And it's called Two Faces of a Coin. And it's out in Amazon and everything. And I just put, and people who read it, and I think I should thank Tara also to wanting to publish the book, because she was my first beta reader. And she loved the book. I thought she'd come back with a lot of critical things, about it. But she said I couldn't put it down. It was so good. And I think all my beta readers were very encouraging and pushed me to say, you need to get it out. So it's there now. And it's, again, as I said, I think from being an engineer to this whole creative side opened up after I became a part of the Shankar Mahadevan Academy. I think you realize, what all is inside you some point, and it comes out. It was a lovely thing writing. And to all people out there, I would say, it doesn't matter if your book is a big success, or, how many people read it. If you have a story, go ahead and just do it. It gives you a lot of joy to see that baby delivered, and something you all have to try if you have it in you.
Wow. Sridhar, I noticed one thing from my association with the academy, that you're very good with teams, building teams. Over the years, I have not seen people in the team change at all. In fact, new people add on and they just stay as loyal and committed. And from the story that you took us through, it seems your time at Yahoo, where you shifted from the technical side to actually understanding people, it definitely helped you. But what do you think engineering way of thinking or studying has helped you? Has it influenced you to who you are today, Sridhar?
Yeah, see, fundamentally, engineering is problem solving. And I always explain it to people. If you look at a painting and say, wow, what a beautiful painting, and I'm going to start painting, and it's going to take you years and years and years to even understand what's happening. Rather, if you take the painting and divide that into 1,000 pieces, you paint each one and put it together, that becomes a painting. So I always tell to people, I always look at a problem in a way of how to break it down into solvable pieces, and that's what engineering taught you, right? And that can be applied to people. If Sadhana is angry on us, for the first thing I'll ask you, are you hungry? So because ultimately there is something that is triggering the anger, right? Or something. So emotions are triggered by something that you don't know, you're not aware of. If you just take into and react to what you're seeing and hearing, then you're going to be flawed, and you're never going to find the solution to the problem. Similarly, people are complex, right? So you need to figure out their softer sides, where their leanings towards other people, their leanings towards life, how generous they are, how stingy they are, how angry can they get, how outspoken they are, and things like that. And then there are times when I've asked a question, and before the guy who typically answer, I'd say, I know you know the answer, just keep quiet. I would like this person to answer. It's just a nice way to do it, but then you're encouraging participation in the team. I think a lot of it I gathered this in online anywhere because I was the person who was managing all the people, and the Mohan and Anurag were engineers. They well more than engineers. They were Mohan was very outspoken and can sell well, so he was the guy who would we would ask him to sell. Anurag is the deep down programming language guy, so he used to do that. So I was actually thrown into a place where I had to manage people. And what I discovered there in that was in the journey, I said, these guys are young and we hired some very good people. I made them take a salary cut, gave them stock options. And when we exited, almost everybody was a millionaire. So that also one different story where, you could make people successful. So they actually remember you all your life, right? Then the Shankar Mahadevan Academy story is very different. Initially, I used to not even understand how to manage them. We have a meeting at 10 o'clock and people show up at 10:30, and Deepa get mad. What are these? Why are these people like this? I said, oh, just take it easy. They are there. So just when you set up the meeting at 10, think that is at 10:30. Then you won't get mad. And then they would come and we will have. But then I had to change my ways. How to deal with them. They are fundamentally artists and musicians. They are performers, right? We get them to perform. We give them what they want. What is the gap in their lives? And out came the idea SMA Nirvana, right? SMA Nirvana is a team building tool. It is to get that raw energy of performance and make it available to people who need it. And SMA Nirvana, we call it Dil Ka Langar, is essentially getting that desire to perform from every single musicians. Unfortunately or fortunately, they are teachers because they are not able to dedicate enough time to be a performer, or not good enough to be a performer yet. But there is a gap right here. People are lonely around the world. So anyway, so I think engineering helps you solve problems by breaking them down, and these are some examples I just gave you.
Rashmi, other thing I feel what is very different from what I hear and what I see in this management for us is we treat them with a lot of respect, and we don't have that boss employee kind of a feeling at all. And I think over the years that makes people very loyal and stick on because they realize that it's such a rare thing in India, especially where the designations divide people. And that's something I don't think anybody has followed in the academy or wherever we are. We never do that. So everybody is equal. Everybody can tell them what their opinion is. Whether we can work with it or not is different. But we listen to everyone and give everybody a chance to say what they have to say, respect them, and treat them well. And that's the key, I feel, for the same team to have been with us for so many years.
I didn't even think of that because I think that's the minimum. I think from a philosophical point of view, that is the starting point. But if we have reference point where it's not the starting point, but I wouldn't even go to say that we have done it, because for me that is the starting point.
Yeah, maybe that's what is the cutting edge here compared to the rest. But when it comes to SMA per se, both of you are not with musical backgrounds, but the way everything around it is so musical. And whether it is the voice gym, whether it is all the different programs, inclusive the latest SMA Nirvana, everything is around music, but taking it a level higher. From where do you get the ideas? Does anybody who walk in and you meet say something and that's where it gets triggered? From where do you get the ideas to make these programs beyond just the typical curriculum programs that music schools world over give?
This was around 2013, 14, and I was looking at. We had very few students at that time. We had about 600 students, and we had about 18, 20 schools. And then I was looking at how do you make sure that we make it more successful. At that time, I was also thinking more about how can we create a career path for musicians. The reason we are not musicians, and a lot of people are not musicians, because there is no career path. Your parents don't encourage you to go into that, unless you are like a divine intervention like Shankar, right? And he took that call. He was an engineer. He could have gone and worked at Yahoo, Google, wherever I worked. But then he took the call saying that I'm going to try it out, right? And then he had some miserable years for 5-6 years before he actually broke through with breathless. So in that context of things, I was thinking, how do we find talent? How do we make sure music can be a career path other than being a music teacher that we have already solved? What are the other different career paths? So you know, as always, you know, you start with a commercial intent of doing something. But here I was in a space where I could do a lot more than just commercial stuff. And I took that opportunity. And one day I was telling Shankar, we should do something for people who don't have money, because you don't know where talent is. You don't know who's hiding where. And then we started the Shankar Mahadevan Academy Trust in 2014 with the flagship project called Inspire India project. We made a couple of calls to the Tata Trust. They were more than willing to support it. They gave us a grant that we could start 3 centers, and I think we serviced about 2,000 students there, and there are a few who were really good. The problem is the pandemic came and shut the centers down, and we are trying to resurrect it now, either by centers or just going online. I think we have about, from 2000, we have about 150 students who are learning online. So that's how the whole concept of, the whole journey started off creating other things, right? Then Inspire India project came. And then one of the things that I always felt I had to do something was the autistic spectrum. I never understood Down syndrome. I never understood autistic spectrum. And when I would see, when I was growing up, I had one child like that in our building. And I never understood it, because I used to very close and I used to play with him and all of that. But then I used to see the parents struggle. And I said, okay, would music be an outlet? And I started reading. And then there was a big connection between music and autism. I said, okay, let's start the Joyful Choir. Then one thing led to the other, right? So then one day somebody was saying that we had such beautiful compositions in the thing, and there is a ton of records in the collector's room of the King of Baroda and the Nizam of Hyderabad, and we should take that and do something with it and all that. I said, okay, let's start a project first and go approach them. We started the project Archive to Alive, and then it came in a timely manner where Tara was saying that they were going to give a birthday gift to Lalit Rao, of 67 of the compositions from the Agra Gharana. So so things started coming one after another. So the trust actually became a big vehicle to invent things around music.
Okay, wow. For all the other guests at this point, I would ask, what has the pandemic done to you? Because all of us went into reflection. But for me, the Shankar Mahadevan Academy was like way ahead to handle whatever the world at that point was groping to find its feet on. And so, personally, did the pandemic shift anything in the way you were looking at what you saw happening in the academy, or was it just something that made you pause and look up and say, thank God we were ahead?
It did help and said thank God we are ahead. But the first thing we did in the first month is April 2020 was to ensure that all the 10 people who were working in centers were christened and given them a role in the academy so that they don't lose their jobs. So that's the first thing we did, and Neha was a big source of inspiration and help with that. So because some people are, so what do you do with the person who takes care of a center? What can they do online? So we kind of invented some jobs and made sure that we didn't lose anybody from the family. That's the first thing we did. And I think the pandemic helped us find really good teachers, because now people are talking online education, people are doing and all of that, right? So, and now the good teachers who had this whole thinking that you can't teach or learn online suddenly became converts. And I still remember the first time Tara got to be a convert. So how can you teach online? How can you learn? And I said, okay, Tara, just take one 45-minute class for me. Just humor me. And she sat with the headphones for 45 minutes. And she came back and said, this felt like a 2-hour class. There's amount of music, because you can't move anywhere, you can go anywhere. You're just focused attention, right? Even this conversation, Rashmi, if you were having in a more couch-like environment, right? It won't be as focused and crisp, honestly.
Yes,
So.
yes, yes. Yeah, true, true. And I'm not surprised the answer coming from you, Sridhar. And so at this time, it is the life lessons that both of you have had from whatever life you have seen and the challenges that you have faced to the academy, which is now really blooming in the true sense of the term. Your journey so far, 3 life lessons each, if I may be greedy.
Deepa, go for it.
One is to not kind of whine about problems, but look for solutions. That has been a great personality change in me because I used to be and I still continue to be somebody who worries about everything. So to change that whole perspective and look at, it'll be okay. I need to look at solutions, have a positive attitude. That's been a big change for me through all of this. I think being around different kinds of people. I think one of the things that the academy did for us is gave us introductions to wonderful people with different personalities, and there's so much to learn from each of them. If you look at it, you need to be keen to want to learn from them. And I think I was always looking at people to see what is the traits that we can probably pick up from them, because we are all lifelong learners. So I think is that, to be stay positive no matter what the scenario is something that I feel has been a big change in me. I was very introverted. And I think to express myself and say what I feel and not be worried about what people are going to think or judge has been another big change in my personality. Where I think I finally figured out, I think, being a mom or being around people, again, musicians are also, performing artists, they do what they, it gives you a sense of it's okay to be yourself. You don't, because I used to think even in a big group, how to break the ice, what conversation to have. Now I am very bindas. I can go anywhere and make myself feel comfortable and talk to people. And I also, the third and the most important, I feel, is that if your intent is right and you work with the heart, there are a lot of things that happens through destiny that helps you achieve it. Right people come your way, and right ideas come your way, and it's just that you have to have the right intent to do the right thing, and everything else falls into place. So
Beautiful. Sridhar?
Um, I'm Besur and I'll probably be Besur all my life. Besur is good because it makes you strive to be Sur. And I'm not talking about music here, I'm talking about whatever you do. Because without Besur, there's no fun. You're not striving to do anything. So if you start looking at students of music in that angle, then you're just going to make them feel happy. You're just going to make them strive for not being Besur. And the same philosophy, you can do it for every single job in the academy, every single aspect of the academy, every single curriculum or anything in the academy. We're always learning, we're always continuing to grow. And I think that's a huge life lesson. I had some idea about it, but then you're sheltered in big companies where a lot of Besur is coated with sugar coated, where you don't even know it's Besur. But here the raw Besurness comes in everything we start. Everything is an idea. Like for example, 2 days ago or a week ago, I got this idea. I love and I still love Amar Chitra Kathas, and they have some beautiful stories, comic books. I just happened to see Preeti Vyas, who is the president and CEO of Amar Chitra Katha, and she happened to be my friend's sister, Smita's sister. An idea came to me saying, okay, why don't we add relevant songs to every book online, for the children to listen to the song after they reach. So Ganesha, you read the book, and then you have 2 Ganesha songs after that, or 5 Ganesha songs after that. So those kind of ideas don't come unless you are based. So you're striving, you're looking for doing something more for benefiting children, benefiting people. I think that's something I've learned, and I think I've kind of infected people in the workplace to think like that. So, and that's been such a wonderful thing to do. The second thing is, if you are going to be creative, if you are going to break that puzzle down into, if you're going to make that painting down into different objects to create a puzzle and fit it together, go the distance. Don't stop at the first level of creativity. And that's something that I've learned from the musicians like Dr. Prakash Sonteke or even Shankar, and even to a large extent the production team, where they just keep meddling with it, right? And meddling in a very good way. Where you see the sangams, the online sangams in the last 2 years, where we started, and first of all, how were we able to pull out an online sangam? Then you see the quality getting better and better, in every production release. So when there is creativity, I think we should not stop at the first glimpse of it. We need to dive in, medal, and suddenly you see these pieces of art and masterpieces. And the third thing, with the other word, tongue in cheek, always pick the right celebrity to work with. So,
Sridhar, I had read a quote of Bridget Nicole very, very long back, and that somewhere had been at the back of my heart. And I was thinking whether I would meet someone who would fit in. And I think today I've found the two of you. And the quote goes thus: it says, "If you don't follow your heart, you may spend the rest of your life wishing you had." And both of you seem to be two people who followed it and are living the life of your choice.
Rashmi, I just want to add one more thing. The crazy three guys we were starting online anywhere. The sequence thus follows. We buy a house, I quit my job, and I put the money in the bank in the company. And thanks to Deepa, we said, go for it. If you don't do it now, you'll regret it for your life.
Yeah.
And that was reminded to me by the quote that he said. So, in a lot of ways, I have to thank Deepa for getting me onto the entrepreneurial journey here.
Such a pleasure having you on You and I with Rashmi Shetty, listening to your stories and knowing you a little more than what I knew from the interactions, which are very brief all these years. Thank you so much for opening yourself here, and God bless you on an amazing journey further, because your intent seems absolutely pure and the universe is definitely conspiring to make it that much more bigger and brighter, to put the right celebrities in your spotlight, Sridhar. Thank you very much, Deepa and Sridhar, for joining me.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Rashmi.
Rashmi.
With that, we come to the end of this weekly quest of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know people who make the world beautiful. Write in to rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. Come, let's explore this amazing world together, both you and I.